recorded. Um, so today we're going to talk about the work. We're going to talk about getting on the phones, starting. So like the kind of the importance of at least just like starting. You know what I mean? Because one of the biggest like hurdles in this business is going from the training and the all the contract and all the stuff to like actually getting started on the phone. So like Scott, you just started. Christina, you're right there. Who else? Is anybody else like just started calling leads or is has passed the release presentation and has maybe not started calling leads yet, but is like close to? Anybody else besides Scott, Christina, Matt? Matt's here. Yep. Matt, this one will be good for you. I mean, this will help everybody, but like today is going to be heavy on what it looks like to start on the phones, the importance of it, and really like the how to. Um, so the first, before I get into like the how to, because there's definitely a way to, a process to dial, a way to dial to be efficient, effective, to create pickups, right? Because one of the biggest things when you start on the phones that almost everybody says, including myself, is like it feels like people aren't answering. And so there's definitely a way to get good at creating pickups. Um, but before we get into like some of the how-to stuff, I want to talk a little bit more about the importance of getting started. And so if you work with me, right, you filled out everything that you needed to for contracting and you're now maybe waiting on all your carriers to get approved, or maybe you received one or two, whatever the case is. And I share a list of some of my leads with you so you can start on the phones. Why do I do that? Because I want you to start, right? Like the most important thing you can do at this point is get into the habit of picking up the phone and hitting the send button. Now, I always want you to remember this. Like Christina, I know you have some experience in the industry, but just generally speaking, right? In your position where you're at right now, I know what you don't know. Does that make sense? Like I know how much is unknown to you, and I know how nerve-wracking it can be, and I like everything I know. And so part of getting started on the phones is one, trusting our process, right? Like I that this is what we know works. This is how we know how to help you get paid, but also trusting yourself a little bit too. That I wouldn't have released you, quote unquote, done your release presentation if I didn't think it was time for you to start talking with people. Does that
My
make sense?
biggest challenge, my biggest challenge is what do I do if somebody says, "Yeah, like I really want this," and then I write applications? That's like
That's a
one of my
great,
biggest challenges.
a 100%. I agree with you. That's a great problem to have. Let's get there. So you haven't bought leads yet, right? So who cares? You have no money on the line.
Right.
Like let's get to that point where that's even a problem. You know why? You're going to learn so much along the way of just talking with people that when you do buy leads, you'll feel that much more confident. Because remember, there's a lot of stuff in between hitting the send button and what product to write them.
Right.
There's for one, getting them to answer the phone. For two, getting them to write down your name and state license number. For three, getting them to give you their beneficiary. Does that make sense? So there's a lot now. And I'm glad you said that because that's exactly why I want to talk about this today. Confidence is built through action. Now, I do know that we give that week of training, and that is to give you the baseline. So I need you to trust that the what you have done up until this point is what you need to get started. Now, am I saying don't spend some time in the off hours, like after working hours, getting familiar with the products or logins and stuff like that? No, 100%. Like I'm a big fan of preparation. But when you start talking with people, a lot of this stuff will like you'll just learn things that will help you actually close more deals that you could never learn just by preparing. Does that make sense? Like the game is actually talking to people. That's where it's at. So Scott, you've been on the phones for a couple days. What do you like? Is anything that I'm saying, do you like you're the best person to talk to about this right now because you're right there. Like, is anything that I'm saying, do you feel like that holds true? Like, do you feel you've gained more confidence by, even though there's a lot that you don't know, like at least just starting?
No, yeah, I think starting was definitely the best thing, especially for me to overcome my nerves. Because if I would have just kept listening to them and wait till I feel confident fully, then I would have probably postponed another week before I started making dials.
Boom. That right there. Huge. Thank you. I agree. Same with me. Trust me, and everybody's in the same boat. And so I share those, I call them practice dials for lack of a better term, because shoot, Christina, if you stumble and trip into somebody that's ready for your help, like you have the ability to write them, so do it, right? But Scott feels so much better. Now, Scott doesn't know every product. Be clear, I don't know every product. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never know all of the products or everything like that. But Scott feels so much better now because he at least just started. So, like, there's something to be said for just getting that out of the way, just getting those butterflies out, right? And then actually putting in the like, actually talking to some people. And then what happened? Scott, we were in a breakout room earlier today. I don't know what that guy's name was, but he that's the furthest you've gotten so far, right? And like you're so what I don't know, what did you learn from that guy letting you get that far into the call?
That there is, for some reason, there's still some people out there willing to talk to you and are friendly, even though that was on the aged leads you gave me. So there are definitely people out there, and I got two, actually, I got three appointments after this meeting. So
So what I'm hearing is by starting, yes, did have people told you a lot of stuff like hung up on you or said I don't remember, I'm not interested or anything like that? Like, have you heard a bunch of that stuff?
yeah, a handful, a handful.
Okay. But you're still here. Like you got all your fingers and toes and everything. Nobody came through the phone.
Yep, I'm surviving.
But you also found a couple people that want your help that filled out a form. And so you say for some reason, because I hear you, because they're not like brand new leads that filled out the form yesterday, but they also filled out a form. And so like it by just starting, you like when you sometimes just need to hear, you need to talk to one person that's like, yep, that's my beneficiary. Yep. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's what we're doing. Like I'm talked to a person that filled out a form and is ready for my help. And like you said, the longer you put that off, the longer it's going to take for you to like gain that level of confidence that like, okay, I'm actually calling people that filled out forms, right? That's such a huge just like hurdle to get over mentally. And then it's like, cool. Now it's just let me just call more of these to find more guys like him. And then that becomes the game. Does that make sense? Um, Zach, can you talk about what that did for you? Like I know you had a little bit of time where between you could even start selling and you just started getting on the phone. So like what did that do for you just getting those reps in before you were fully like buying leads and getting after it?
To me, it's like if you were going to have a basketball game and you didn't warm up and then you went and you expected to go out there and be on point right away, it's not going to happen. I think that like working on leads before I was even able to sell, at first I really didn't want to do it because of fear. It was a fear factor. I'll be honest with you. Like Like the scariest thing when you're starting this business, of course, everybody wants to make a lot of money. Everybody wants to, be good at it. The scariest thing is picking up the phone and dialing at first because you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. But the faster that you can put yourself in that uncomfortable position, the faster you're going to grow. And without doing it this way, you're not going to be ready for objections. Kind of like what Scott was talking about right now. You're dealing with a lot of objections, and you're going to get really quick at having a response to each one of those objections. And you can kind of sit, you're going to, and like we always say, we do this every day. They're not worried about, how am I going to, when these insurance people call me today, how am I going to throw them off their game? You know what I mean? So we're dealing with this every day. They're not dealing with it. So the quicker that you tap in, the quicker that you just throw yourself out there, like I did, the more confidence you're going to build, and the more sales you're going to end up making because you're already past the part where like, okay, like I was using Dominique's leads and like, you know what I mean? And obviously, it wasn't any of my money. It kind of takes the stress off of it, but it gives you that opportunity to practice so that by the time you really get out there and start really rolling, somebody who says, can you call me back later, whether you're going to have something that just rolls off the tongue. And I think that having all that in front of me and allowing to have that, because even when I started buying my own leads, I felt as though I might have rushed into real time too quick. And I took a step back and I bought a bunch of age leads, about 150 at a time, and worked out some more kinks. And then that gave me even more confidence when I went back to real time.
Well, yeah, the aged leads and the practice dials, they both accomplish the same thing, right? Because it's like I can sit up here and talk to you guys until I'm blue in the face about all the training, all the stuff, right? You can watch videos all day, but 100% the way that you are actually going to learn this stuff and how it's actually going to sink in for you is when you have somebody tell you, I already got it taken care of. I don't remember filling it out. I'm not interested anymore. Whatever the case is, like when you actually hear that, you're much more equipped the next time. And then on top of that, you got it. Like when you hear all the health stuff, like people are gonna say all these medications that you don't know how to pronounce. Let's figure that. Like let's talk about and learn that stuff fast. You know what I mean? So by the time you do buy leads, or you are buying, like Zach said, like newer leads, you've just had all this experience under your belt of talking about medications or talking about what other insurance is out there. You know what I mean? So Christina, I want you to go talk to a bunch of people and have them tell you, all these medications that you don't know how to pronounce, that I have AAA insurance, that I got coverage through the VA, so that you can call me or ask somebody on here, whatever, and be like, hey, when they say this, what does that mean? What is this medication for? How does AAA insurance work? Like, let's figure that stuff out as fast as possible. And then here's what you'll learn is the stuff that the things that we are the most worried about before we start, in terms of like the products to write and all that stuff. Once you actually start talking with people, what you realize is like, oh, that's not the biggest thing. Like, so that's why I say getting to that point is a good problem to have. Let's get to that point where you're like, I got all these people that want to stay on the phone with me. I just don't know what product to write. I'll be like, awesome, sick. Like that means you are communicating effectively with people, getting them to want to stay on the phone with you, and bringing enough, value and credibility that it's time to look at products. Does that make sense? And I 100% believe that you will get there fast. And you start calling people right now, you have plenty of those people, right?
Yeah.
But there's all this stuff that people are going to say on the phones, or even getting people to pick up the phone, like all this stuff in between then that, again, you're going to learn through experience.
Okay.
So that is why just starting is the biggest thing. Does that make sense? And so I don't want anybody to get confused of like why we do this week of, training. Like before you do the release presentation, you get on the phones. Like it's to just give you some time to prepare. But once we're done with the release, now it's time. Now it's time to go. Because trust that you've learned what you need to learn to at least start. Does that make sense? And then action and activity, you'll pick up what you need to from there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think I was in the wrong breakout room earlier because there was only 3 people in there. I don't know if I'm in the wrong one.
Don't go to any breakout room.
Whenever I'm on the Zoom.
Don't go to any breakout room until you come to this training at 2. specific.
Okay.
So when you join live Zoom dials, just click the link and then you'll be in like the main room. That's where everybody's at.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's right. I've been messing up. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. So that's starting. Matt, you with us? I don't see him on here. Did he leave?
I'm here.
Do you have any questions about that? Because that's why I said this is most relevant for you because you just got your list of leads. So it's time to start. So you have any questions about anything that we just said?
Nope, that all makes sense. And once released, time to start.
There you go. 100%. So trust yourself and trust us. Like trust that's the process, and then trust yourself that you know enough that it's time to at least start on the phones. Cool. All right. So in terms of like the how to, right? Okay. So it's time to start on the phones. What's the most effective way to start dialing? Depending on how many leads you have, right? If you have a list of 100 leads, I'd recommend you break that up into like 2 or 3 chunks, right? So what you don't like 100 leads will take a little bit of time to get through. And the biggest thing, the number one thing to focus on when you start dialing the phones is to get people to pick up the phones. So Christina, when you start dialing the phones, like let's say you start right after this call, the win for you is going to be how many pickups can I get? Does that make sense? Like, how many people can I get to at least answer the phone? That's where everything's got to start. So the strategy for dialing the phones is designed to create the most amount of pickups as possible. Okay. So if we break it into chunks of, let's say we break it into 4 chunks of 25, let's say we got that first chunk of 25. I want to blast through that as fast as possible, right? Because there's going to be some bad numbers. There's going to be some people that maybe say, piss off, never call me again, whatever. Like I want to find that as fast as possible, but there's also going to be some low hanging fruit. Somebody that you do go through a presentation with that is ready for your help. I want to find them as fast as possible, right? So I dialed 2 times in a row, each of minimum 2 times in a row through them, and then go back up and then dial them 3 times in a row each. Does that make sense? So I'm dialing the minimum of 5 times within 25 leads. I'm dialing minimum of 5 times within like 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm hitting, and when I say dial, like that's hitting the send button. So every time I hit the send button, that's a dial. So their phone is ringing all the way through to a voicemail at least 5 times within the span of like 30, 45 minutes. Then I'm moving on to the next chunk and I'm just doing the same thing through that batch of 25. So that's how to dial effectively to get people to create pickups on the phone, as opposed to dialing all the way through. And then I may not get to that first person I dialed until tomorrow or 7 hours later today. Like the way that we create pickups is by creating curiosity. Does that make sense? So when somebody, like when they get a random number that calls them, most of us don't answer random numbers, right? But when it calls them twice, then it's like, okay, interesting. 3 times, like, okay, what the heck is going on? 5 times within 30 to 45 minutes, that you're just giving yourself a chance and for them to be like, okay, nobody else is doing that. No other telemarketer is calling me that many times in that short of amount of time. Does that make sense? And that's the whole point of this, is to set ourselves apart from telemarketers. Telemarketers call one time. They don't answer, right? So setting ourselves apart from everybody else that's calling these clients is like the biggest thing, the biggest reason why we dial so many times in such a short amount of time. And then the other thing is this, one thing I wish I could just place in everybody's head is removing the worry about how many times you're calling somebody, because it's inevitable to not want to call somebody so many times because you wouldn't want somebody calling you that many times, right? And so that's just something that you just have to get over. Where just like, again, we talk about it a lot, but like when we were in the field and we would see people's phones ringing the entire time through an appointment, like that's who our clients are. They're form filler outers. You know what I mean? So you can't be concerned about, am I calling this person too many times? Now, maybe 27 times in 1 hour. Yes, maybe that's too many times. But 15, 20 plus times a day, that's perfect. And that's not too many times. Does that make sense? So just anything any concern you have about, am I calling this person too many times? Removing that is massively important. And it'll just like when you have somebody answer the phone and it's like, again, like the 20th plus time you've called them in a day, and then they don't say anything about it and you proceed through an appointment with them, the faster you can get to that point where you realize like, oh my gosh, they didn't say anything and it's fine. And they're proceeding through an appointment and now they're buying a policy. So how, you know what I mean? You'll realize that at some point. So it's like, how fast can we break that wall down? Some of you will take this right now and be like, all right, cool. Bryce said, don't worry about it. I'm going to call him like crazy and who cares? But some people are still going to hesitate to call somebody because they know they've called them multiple times that day. And then at some point down the line, you're going to sell a policy to somebody that you called an insane amount of times and didn't say anything about it. And you're going to have that feeling of, oh my gosh, that's what he was talking about. It actually doesn't matter how many times I call them and now they bought a policy. How many more people could I have maybe helped out if I didn't let this fear of calling multiple times stop me for this long? Does that make sense? So that is dialing strategy. I don't know, Dom, you have anything else on how to effectively dial?
What's up, everybody? The keyword is effectively, right? Effectively. Too many folks chase dials. Okay? Dials don't equal deposits. They don't. People are like dialing for dollars. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand what that means. I'm like, no, man. Presentations, give me money, right? Pickups, give me money. But dialing, ineffectively, waste a lot of time. Okay? So the way that he just talked about dialing is going to be, it may have sounded easy. You may have been taking notes. It may have made sense to you. But it's gonna, in the history of working with people, I've never had anybody who just said, oh, hell yeah, that makes all the sense in the world and just did it. Like, I promise you, and I know you're probably like, dude, I'm going to do that. Just please know, you may even only do it a half a day or for a little bit, right? But you got to know that you're not bothering. One of my affirmations was when I started, not now, I'm over it now, but when I started, I had this, my self-talk was, I'm not bothering people. It's not too early. It's not too late. Because I don't think we all understand how powerful what we think the lead is thinking is. Some of y'all been in sales before, wondering why you didn't get results. Well, what did you think the lead was doing? Did you think, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't. No, we're going to help you rewire some of that thought process. Because once you rewire that, now we can get busy. Okay? But it's hard to get busy and call the volume that you need to call on telesales thinking that you're doing anything but helping people. You know, and that didn't come innately from me. That wasn't just day one. Be clear, I went through the I'm bothering. I thought people in North Carolina didn't want me to call them on Sundays. Sean was like, I said, Sean, I can't book appointments on Sunday. He said, why not? I said, people in North Carolina, they just don't pick up the phone. He goes, what? People in Connecticut don't go to church, Don? And I said, damn. I was like, damn, bro, I didn't even think that far outside of what the hell I was thinking. Make sense? Like, I didn't even think that far outside. I was just thinking in my damn world of, Dom thinks people in the South don't want to do business on Sunday. No, what Dom really wanted to do was watch football and chill. You know what makes sense? That's what Dom really wanted to do. So Dom really wasn't too sold on doing anything on Sunday anyways. So my question to you is, are you even sold on actually what's happening anyways? Or does the result just sound good sometimes? Make sense? What you got, Teresa?
No, I was gonna say that. Oh, I've never said anything in the group. Hi, everybody.
What's up? What's up?
So I used to do door to door in Orlando, and now that I'm starting this, I'm having panic attack again because they used to slam doors in my.
Hey, well, look, this is so much better. If you could do that, man, like the worst that could happen here is like they hang up on you, and they ain't even that mean when they do it. You know what I mean? Usually the ones who hang up on you, Teresa, are the ones that you thought you was about to sell. So they actually let you down like a black widow. You make sense? It wasn't even mean. Like the people aren't mean. But if you don't give yourself an opportunity to get presentations, you won't even get there. Your fight will be, damn, people ain't picking up the phone. Damn, I talked to 5 people today. Or only 5 people picked up. I'm like, well, sheesh. Like you just ain't calling enough then. And that's where a big percentage of insurance agents get out of business. Then that's a big reason why door-to-door sales get out of it. They don't get enough people to convert on the door-to-door. They're knocking all day, but they do nothing all day. Does that make sense? It's like, no. We're going to stay. I'm not going to a new neighborhood. I'm going to hit this house in the morning, afternoon, and at night. Y'all over here hitting all these houses one time a day. That's too bad for you. Does that make sense? Like there's just a different way of being effective with knocking on that door or making a call. And that's what this is about. All right, your script could be anything you want to be, but I know if Teresa gets 20 pickups and Scott gets 7, I don't care how good your script is, Scott. I don't give a damn. Teresa could just do handstands and backflips and speak in like Morse code and sell more than you're going to sell. Make sense? Because their leads are that good if you give yourself a shot. But how you give yourself a shot, you got to work it up, right? You got to work it up.
I like what you said about sometimes you got to resell yourself. You know what I mean on what you're doing, and like maybe sometimes we just need to remind yourself, like, what did you sign up for with this? You signed up for. When I talk to recruits on the phone, I say what this is high volume outbound phone sales.
Yes.
So you signed up for high volume outbound phone sales. So like when it's time to start, get high volume with your outbound phone sales. Now, like Dom said, it's not about just making calls. Like it's about selling insurance. So contacts and presentations are much more of an important metric than just the dials themselves. But to get to enough contacts and presentations to make some things happen, especially when we're brand new and there's a lot that we don't know or what, like high volume is even more important. So just remind yourself of that. Make that an affirmation. Like I'm a high volume outbound sales rep. That's what I do. I do this in high volume. That's the only way that I know how to help you make money is if you approach this as a high volume outbound sales rep. If you're trying to approach this like a sharpshooter, like none of it, me and Dom, Zach, we're not that good to help you make money in that way. But high volume, we can work with that.
That's probably the realest thing, dude. Any of these ways of dialing, scripts, things like that, they work high volume. One call close, it's a one call close script. It's built for high volume. It's not a follow-up type of script. It's not a script that leads people to think there's going to be a second or third call. Makes sense? There's sales processes that are that way though. Okay. Real time stuff is coming.
You know, I'm going to speak to that just real quick. So, and another thing too that's on our side is these people filled out all their information. They're asking for a call back. So, you know, I kind of look at it like this. Like I needed some electrical work on my house not too long ago, and if I called somebody and put a message in and nobody ever called me back, and I need this electrical work done, I'd be pissed off. These people put the information in. They want somebody to call them back. They want life insurance, so they wouldn't have filled it out. I wanted something done in my house. I needed it done. So if nobody ever called me, then I'd be upset. So if you think of it that way, these people want a call back. They need a call back. And so who cares if you call them 20? Last deal I sold, I called like 15 times and a half a day, and they said nothing about it.
Here's some numbers that I would track dialing. All right. You want to make sure that you don't fall under 40 outbound calls an hour. All right. That's the danger zone. That means, unless you wrote something. If you wrote something within that hour, good for you. Okay. But if you didn't write nothing within that hour and you told yourself I was working, and your dial tracker says 32 dials, 26 dials, 13 dials, 15 dials, it's all good. Just fire yourself and rehire yourself and do better the next hour. Make sense? All right, because you was BSing. And this is the realist, this is the talk that you got to have with yourself. We do this. I'm not saying send me a dial tracker every day. No, we're not gonna micromanage you, but we will teach you how to micromanage yourself. Make sense? Because if you don't know the metrics, though, you could fake yourself into your working. You know how many people who don't track their metrics go, dude, I was working all day. And I'm like, how many calls you make? 70. I'm like, how many hours is that? How many hours you work? Man, I got on phone 8 o'clock, bro. I'm talking to him at 7 o'clock. Man, you take an hour lunch or something? Nah, man, I worked all the way through. I'm like, damn, I was trying to throw you a bone. Make sense? You know, like, man, I worked all the way through. I'm like, oh shit. All right, well, how many times? I mean, you know, like, how long does it take to make a call? Man, about a minute. All right, how many presentations you have? You know what I mean? Probably maybe 2. How long those? Maybe at 30 minutes. All right, cool. So you got an hour presentations, 74 calls outside of the presentations you made. So call it 74 minutes. Oh shit! Yeah, I was like, you see where I'm getting at? They start to put it together. They start to put it together. I'm like, what was I doing for 7 hours? 8 hours. See, you got to ask yourself this. Did I take all day to dial, or did I dial all day? And if you're struggling or you're not getting the result that you want, the answer is probably the answer that you don't want to tell yourself. Make sense? Because it's very hard to be dialing all day at the clip of 40 an hour times 8, 320 calls, and not get Christina the 15, 20 pickups that are required in order to get better at your craft. It's required. Like, you can't get better at baseball without taking practice swings. Some of y'all work all day and take no swings. See, but then we got to define work, right? Because if I did that, I'd be like, that didn't work. That didn't work. I got to change it up. You know, so having that definition. So 40 calls an hour is where you need to be at. All right. If you're cranking, it could go higher. 40s with some pickups too, by the way. I was doing 40 an hour while I was scheduling appointments. Scheduling an appointment maybe took 2 to 3 to 4 minutes. You know, and I was still doing 40 plus. So if it's just you know what I mean? Like the pickup that doesn't really go anywhere, what's that? 15 seconds, 20 seconds? Like, it ain't that much, you know? So you can still have 50, 60. Have a goal of 60, minimum 40. 40 is not a goal, by the way. 40 is a minimum. That's great clarity right there. All right. 40 is a minimum. 40 is like, I was dialing and my daughter came in, I had to change her diaper, and I got back to dialing. Like, 40 is a stuff happens number. Does that make sense? 60 is I'm locked in. I'm locked in. Make sense? Big difference. Okay? Because but you got to know what you're stepping into. You got to know how this is going to work for you. Otherwise, you'll trick yourself into thinking things are hard. Makes sense? You'll trick yourself into thinking, man, this was a tough day. I'm like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But your perspective and your lens is allowing you to think that. And that's where we come in. 4 days a week, 5 p.m. Eastern, live and direct. No, I'm just playing. That was an ad. Y'all need to clip that up, get that out there. All right.
Hey, Dom.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really think about it, because you're dialing somebody 3 times in a row, and each dial, because you're not letting it ring all the way through, you're letting it ring 3 times, hanging up, and you're calling them back. That's like 3 dials in like 20 seconds. So you could low-key hit 40 in 30 minutes, just depending on if anybody's picking up or not.
What was that last piece, dude?
I said, if you really think about it, you're calling somebody 3 times in a row.
Right.
You know, some people let it ring all the way through the first time. I kind of just let it ring 3 times and hang up, 3 times hang up, 3 times hang up. But right there, that's like 5 to 7 seconds per call. So if you really think about 40 dials, you could, depending on if anybody's picking up or not, that number is actually low. Like you said, it should be almost like 75, 60 to 75, depending on if you have any presentations.
And what he just talked about, like not letting it go all the way to voicemail, it's a waste of time. All right. I let it go to voicemail the first time just so I can know if, Monique goes by Mo. Because if on her voicemail it goes, hey, this is Mo, ain't no way in hell I'm calling her and saying Monique. That'd be dumb. Be dumb. I'm taking a note down. And so it's a blessing when they don't pick up. Some of y'all get so down, like, oh, they didn't pick up. I'm like, bro, you didn't even listen to the voicemail. Like, you got negative way too fast. Like, you actually needed that. You need to go that Christina goes by Christy. Because when I call her up and I go, hey, Christy, bro, she's going to listen to me a lot more than if I say Christina. So it's a blessing when you get to the voicemail and they actually have their voice on it.
And on that note, Dom, if you look at the email, a lot of times, if somebody like my name's Zachary and I would fill out a request as Zachary, but my email would be Zach. So sometimes if you just glance at the email, you can kind of see what they go off into. Not all the time, but if it's there, it's there.
Yep.
Yeah. And just don't waste the time.
I'm looking at one right now, 100%.
Yeah, just don't waste the time letting it ring all the way through. Curiosity gets people. All right. When it rings 2 or 3 times and you hang call back, now they're like, huh? What was that about? Like, are they okay? You're trying to like you're almost giving them like an SOS type of ring. You know what I mean? So, but mess around with it. Mess around with it. And be ready for callbacks is another big thing. When you start high volume calling, you're going to get people to call you back. And my advice is you can't miss that call. Because now it becomes this ego tripping. Like, you called me, I called you. Now, we good. I ain't doing this no more. Does that make sense? Because you ain't leave a voicemail, Christina. You called them up, didn't leave a voicemail. Now they call you up and you missed the damn call? Oh, shit, they ain't got time for that. They ain't got time for that. All right? So you better pick up the phone, right?
And if you're working on Excel,
I don't have my leads in front of me. Well, that's cool. All right. It's cool.
Yeah.
You know what type of leads you're calling, right? Yeah, I'm calling vet leads. I'm calling final expense leads. I'm calling worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, you're not in front of your leads. Okay. Just pick it up anyways. You know, if a number's calling you from like, they're going to say, hey, you called me, right? And somebody says, hey, you called me, immediately assume it's just one of your leads. You don't need their name, right? They called you. Oh, yeah. I called you up about the insurance. Yeah, and you told me, yeah, we're going to give you a call back. It's about the veteran life insurance. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, my job is to go over it with you. All right, it takes about 10, 15 minutes. Is now a good time or like it's, whatever you got to do based on where you are in your life. You may be out with your kids. Maybe you can't do anything with them at that point in time. But it's not worth missing the phone call, okay? Pick up the phone. You can schedule that appointment. All right? You can schedule it not even knowing who it is. They're not going to call you up, you say it's about the insurance, and then they go, well, what's my name? They're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to do that. So it's not that important for you to know their name. You sell life insurance. Don't miss the call. Did I sell it good enough? And I give you a solution on why you should, right? Like, because I'm telling you, you're going to miss so much if you don't pick up that phone. All right. And now let's say you are in front of your lead list, right? Now, when you pick up the phone, you buys you time because nobody's that quick on their Excel sheet to find it. By then you missed it, right? It goes to voicemail. You missed the call. So instead, pick it up. All right. Do what we just did. In the meantime, I'm hitting Control F on my sheet and I'm putting the last 4 of their phone number in. Blah, 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 blah. Boom. Within 4 seconds, I got who it is. Make sense? So now I'm ready. All right. So if you're on your computer, have your lead list up, Control F. I think that's it. Command F, whatever it is on your
computer. It's Control F.
All right. Get the number. This is all stuff. This may be the difference between you depositing and, these little things right here. And I'm so happy we're taking time today to talk about this stuff because this stuff is, I don't know, this is the stuff that it's little stuff, It's little stuff. It ain't
Hey
script.
Dom, to build on that, Red taught me a trick too. He don't be liking to share his secrets. So I'll share it, but
Oh, we got a Red secret.
but sometimes like I remember I asked him, yo, what do you do when people call you and you're not what you call it, and you kind of just pick up the phone like they're a friend, like, hey, give me 1 second real quick. You know what I mean? Because now they're curious, like, who's this person? Answering the phone, acting like they're my friend, and then in that 1 second, they're obviously gonna stay on the phone because you answered it like a friend. Hey, give me 1 second. And then now you can pull their stuff up. And then it's, hey, Dominique. Oh, Dominique, look, this is Zach. I was just getting back to you about your request that you submitted. You know what I mean?
I love it. I like that.
But it's confidence though. You gotta pick up the phone with confidence. If you pick up the phone with hello, now they're like, oh shit, who did I just call back? Who the hell did I just call back? Hey, what's up, man? Hey, 1 second, real quick, 1 second. Now they're like, damn, they know me too. I like that. Does it make sense? Or, hey, I'm calling you about the insurance. Like, if you know what lead you're calling, you know what you're doing. Hey, I'm calling you about the insurance. Get back to you by that time. Boom, you find it. All right. So that's that with high volume, you gotta be prepared for those things. Okay. With low volume, they ain't calling you back. Don't worry about it. They ain't gonna call you back. You ain't got nothing to worry about if you ain't calling the leads like that. All right. They're just another telemarketer trying to sell something to them. All right.
Dom, question that we pretty much always get when somebody gets started on the phone is, should I text them and should I leave a voicemail?
Okay.
What's your response to that?
I think text is great. Okay. Not in replace of, by the way. Okay. Not in replace of. You're still going to call them the same way we already talked about. But a text can't hurt, right? And especially if that text is already in your phone. Like if you got to type that text every time, that's a waste of time. You need to go on your cell phone, go to settings, go to keyboard, go to shortcuts, and create a shortcut. Y'all know how to do that? It saves me so much time. It's the best thing ever. All right. I got something from my wife. She don't even know their shortcuts. Don't tell her. Okay. Don't tell her. All right. But like there, but you could just, because the things that you repeat a lot, just have it ready. You know what I mean? Boom. So go on so I think text is great, but still call a ton. All right. And leaving voicemails, not initially. Okay. I never leave them. And when I say never, I've been doing this 14 years. Like, I've done them on people that I've had appointments with and they no-showed me. Okay. I've done it on people who I've done presentations with and then I can't get a hold of them again. Does that make sense? I don't do it on people that I have zero relationship with. I think that's the best way to put leaving voicemails. Okay. Because half the time people don't check their voicemails, by the way. Do y'all know people like, dude, they got voicemails, they got 170 voicemails. Makes sense? Or you call them up and it says, hey, this voicemail box is full. You're like, got it. And that's our clients a lot of the times anyways. Yep. So, so I just think it's a waste of time. I have heard in the field, I used to leave them and I used to tell people I was coming to their house. So that's another thing, but we don't do that no more. So I used to be like, hey, Monique, this is Dom. You looks like you ain't picking up the phone. I got an appointment up the street from you tomorrow at 3. I'm coming by there tomorrow between 3:30 and 4:30. All right. Make sure you guys are there. What are they going to do? Like intentionally not like and if they call me back, you know what they call me back for? Because they know they're going to be home. They go, oh, damn. All right. Let me call him before he come over here. Make sense? Or they don't, right? I'll show up, it's a no-show, or I show up and they're there. Either way, they can't say I didn't try. So stupid stuff like that. So there's a place for it, but in high volume sales, we're looking for pickups, not callbacks. Okay. And how I'm going to generate that callback is through abundance of calls and text, right? And even text is really like, I like if you have anything that has your picture on it or your license or something like that, right? It's okay to text that over to people. Shoot them over a picture of yourself. You know what I mean? Hey, this is me. I'm just following up with you about this. But our CRM does a lot of that. I'm talking about a lot of manual things, but our CRM does all these things automatically. So I say I don't text as much as I actually do. I do text a lot more because my CRM texts my clients every day if they didn't pick up the phone. Makes sense? Every day, every other day they text them, hey, I'm getting back to you about the vet life insurance. I didn't even do that. You know what I mean? But what that does is help me when I call them again. So now they're like, oh, it's the same number calling me and been texting me. And, you know, you start to build a relationship with people when you have that many touches with them. So that's a long answer, dude. So I know
No, it's perfect answer. The only thing I'd add is like when you get a new list of leads, it's just really important to have a sense of urgency to contact as much of them as possible and to get through them as fast as possible. So what you don't want to do is take time to stop and leave a voicemail, and then like 6 days later, we still haven't even gotten through our list. You know what I mean? So like the way I look at a list of new leads, like all my leads come in on Sunday. And I'm like, the longer I wait to get to like, there are people in there that are just so ready to buy insurance. The longer I wait to get to them, the more likely it is that somebody else called them. They already got it taken care of.
Yeah.
They're not interested anymore. Whatever. I don't know. Like, I want to get to them as fast as possible. So a sense of urgency to get through your leads as fast as possible is massive. So the way I look at a list of leads is like, find the low-hanging fruit as fast as possible, eliminate the BS as fast as possible. I'm going to condense it down to a smaller list of just numbers that just haven't answered yet. And that's what I work. That's what if I don't have a CRM, that's what I eventually text. It's probably on day 3 or 4 or something of having this list of leads. You know what I mean? But those are the ones that I'm calling 7 times in a row before I move on to the next one. You know what I mean? So I'm condensing this larger list into a smaller list of numbers that I know work that just haven't answered the phone yet. Does that make sense? Go. And that's the game right there. That's where the work comes in of getting people to pick up. But find that low-hanging fruit as fast as possible.
Hey, Monique asked, are we using a CRM or Excel spreadsheet? Both. Okay. I recommend getting the CRM. Okay. There's nothing that says what you have to do. All right. But I couldn't imagine myself doing telesales long-term without a CRM. You know what I mean? Short-term? Do you know what I mean? Short-term, I can get off the ground to prove to yourself that you can do this. You don't need the CRM. Okay. You can use commissions to buy the CRM because the CRM is what, $120 a month? Is that right?
It's like 100 a month, and then I recommend you have the dialer, so that makes it like I think I pay, I don't know, 160 or something with those two combined.
Yeah, I'd spend $1,000 a month if I had to, but like this, I mean, it does so much for you, Monique. There's a call is it Tuesday?
Tuesday, yep.
Tuesdays. All right, we'll start sharing that. We gotta start sharing that, Bryce. All right, we gotta start funneling folks in there to get educated on it. All right. I think once you get educated on it and see the value, how it works, it's a no-brainer. But it works. All right. But you're gonna to start, Monique, though, I think sometimes it's too much for people to start because it's a setup process. And I don't want folks trying to set up a damn CRM when we're trying to set up your bank account. Does that make sense? I'm just being real. Like that's the biggest hiccup in the CRM is that I don't have this massive team that sets it all up for you guys. Make sense? You actually set it up, which requires time. Time that new agents typically don't have to start. Is that a fair assessment, Bryce? Do you know what I mean? Like if we could just plug and play and it was already just boom, 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 that'd be great. And you didn't have to wait 2 days, 3 days for A2P and then freaking like all that. We have to do all that? Dude,
well, even just figuring it out, even if it was, you know, just cookie cutter setup, there's a level of like, how do I import my leads? How do I navigate it? You know what I mean? Which like, if you've done it before, great. But if you haven't, it's going to take a little bit of figuring it out. So like when me and Dom started the CRM, we were still calling out of our Excel files, even though we had the CRM, because we were kind of like figuring it out on the side, but not letting the administrative side of things slow us down from the calls we needed to make. And then we kind of like slowly started figuring it out. And so I just don't want like, Christina, I want you to start making money. I don't want you to be having another thing on your plate to figure out. There's already enough with leads and carriers and like, I already sent you 27 different things. You know what I mean? So like, I don't need you to do another thing. Like, let's talk to people. And then as we start making money, we can start adding in the things that help us make money more efficiently.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing. Yes. So Monique, both. All right. So you start the script, set an appointment to close, then you finish the rest of the script.
Can I say, Carol, can you jump on and clarify that?
Yeah. You're here, right? Or she disappear?
She's here.
Okay.
I have my
Oh,
headset
there we
on
go.
and everything. Okay, I'm here. I was just wondering, like, okay, so when we call a person, then we start with the script, okay? And when we initially get to the person, we start with the script, we follow that. But I know they were talking about they wanted us to have like a one and done, you know? So instead of that, would you want us to like set an appointment? So like when you talk to them at the very beginning, then you said, can if there's another time you'd like to meet, or let's meet at this time tomorrow or later in the day. And that's when you finish the rest of the paper, the script, and then go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm in a hospital room. Okay. So but just when you get to that point, after you make an appointment, that's when you finish your script and then close everything. Is that how it works?
So the goal is always to one call close, right? So if I have you on the phone, Carol, I got you on the phone. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the chances of me getting you back on the phone dwindle down the more we need to make this a multi-step process. So if you go through and read our script, it's catered towards, hey, you answered, like, you notice how there's nothing on the script that says, does this time work for you, or do you want me to call you
Right.
later? It's very
Right.
assumptive that if you answered the phone, we're gonna do business. Does that make sense? Now,
Yeah.
not everybody's in a position where they can stay on the phone and go through an appointment. And, part of the game of this is identifying that. And so if we need to set an appointment for a later time, then we will. But the approach of the script and our process is to one call close. And if we have to set an appointment, then it is what it is. Does that answer
So
your question?
do you call them or do you wait until they call you? Like, like they say that a lot of people won't even show up. They'll just ghost you. So do you call them, if you don't hear from them, or do you wait until they call
Zero
you,
people.
or do you
Nobody's
call
ever
them?
going to call you in this business. Clients have never gotten less than 5 calls back in 5 years,
Oh,
except
okay.
unless
So
it's
you
a
call
client that
them.
has a question. So yeah, everything is
Yo,
outbound calls.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a great question, Carol, because
Okay. Thank you.
we're
Thank
making a
you.
lot of calls,
Yeah.
Okay.
right? So you could think, yo, I made a lot of calls. Let me just wait for them to call me back, right? I called them 12, 15 times today. They should call me back eventually. Nope. Tomorrow you're going to call them again 12, 15 times. Now that's where it starts to get real fun. All right. Because now your mind's telling you, damn, I called them yesterday this many times. Dude, I promise you the next day they forgot all about the 10 calls, missed calls that they had from the number from you yesterday. Like, it doesn't compound, is what I'm trying to tell you. Each day is a new day. Each call is a new call. The clients do not carry weight into picking it up and being mad at you. Okay? Because you start thinking that. You're like, dude, this is the 3rd day. I've called them. Don't worry about that. You're playing yourself. Don't worry. It's a new day. This is big stuff right there. All right?
Absolutely.
Big stuff. So good question, Carol, because sometimes I've been doing this so long, I almost forget what it was like. Some of the questions that I had as being new.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like brand new. Like, what are some of the thoughts or some questions that I had of like, all right, like, oh, dude, I had so many aha moments. And the speed in which you do this, you want your aha moments to be coming faster than slower. And that's, Christina, I believe, where I picked up when you guys started the phone call, or where I hopped on, was just having that sense of urgency without knowing where the hell I'm going. Makes sense. And that's a scary place to be, but we got your back. All right. And one thing I'll tell you about mentorship, or especially this business, I don't know about all mentorship because some people get paid mentorship, but we only get paid at Family First Life, whoever you're working with, whoever's giving you direction, whoever you respect enough to ask a question to, dude, they only get rewarded if you make a sale. You know, so Monique, some of the stuff that Bryce says do, or Zach says does, or Jason says that, it's going to sound like, damn, for real? Like, call him again? Dude, they just like hung up on me and told me like, you know, to like walk off a plank. Yeah, I know, dude, but they thought you were like telemarketer and the way you said their name and everything, and you were like, "Hi, is this Tom?" Like, that's why. When you call him back, say, "Hey, Tom, hey, I'm sorry about sounding like a telemarketer. I need you to say that when you call him back, though." See, if you're willing to take that type of coaching and direction, we're going to win together. We're going to win. If you're not, damn, you may still win, just ain't going to be with the way we do it. The way I do. Does it make sense? Like, you may still win. I'm not saying you're not automatically a loser, right? But it's just that's what it takes to get forward motion in this business. All right. And that's what we all want. You want to make money. All right. I love people when they talk, I just want to help people and all that type of stuff. I was like, that's cool and all, but like, you want to make money, Christina. Like, no, I don't think folks were going like, why'd you get your life insurance license? Man, the community was just struggling. For real? For real? That's what you did it for? Come on, man. See, and that's the reason that person's still struggling with sales. Because they're not even being real with the real reason why they're doing the damn business. Out loud. Internally, they're saying, I'm trying to get this money. Out loud, they're saying, I'm like, no. Why don't you say out loud, bro, I'm trying to get paid. I got things I want to do for my family. I got things I want to do for my mom. There's flexibility that I want to have. Now we're going to go get it. All right. Now you're not afraid of not knowing, Christina, because what you want is way bigger than what you don't know. But we got to remind ourselves every day of what we want while we're doing this. Every day. Because there's going to be a lot of unknowns, Monique. A lot of unknowns, Teresa. A lot of them. Who cares? All right. Is what you're shooting for bigger than that? Yes. And my kids don't deserve it more than yours. Bryce's kids don't deserve it more than mine. I promise you, man, you deserve it. So don't let not knowing hurt them. How about that?
Huge.
That fear of not knowing, who else is it hurting? Just go get it. And what we do ain't that deep, all right? We got people who fill out forms for insurance. It's the wildest thing ever. I had a guy, hey, Zach, I wrote that guy up from, remember, we got put with me and Zach was from the same hometown. Okay. Somebody made a post and said, "Hey, I need life insurance." Somebody said, "You should reach out to Dominique or Zach." Right. And then the guy reached out to me, dude. I wrote him up a policy. Okay. And then, but I'm just like,
crazy.
Come on, dude. Like, really? Like, what do we do?
Nuts.
And you know what's funny about this one? And we'll end with this is kind of funny, bro. You could cut the recording. This one doesn't need to be on YouTube.
All right. And I'll just say this. I want further recording. My sale from yesterday, my client from a few days ago, called me and was like, "Okay, like I know we just helped him, but now I need one too." Like literally had to do nothing. She just called and said, "I want some insurance too." You know what I mean? That's why we buy leads. All right.